call a mini wagon a station wagon may in fact be stretching the definition just a tad. Yet these vehicles are a lot more fun than the traditional wagon. Just ask the people who drive them.
It's like driving one of the new Honda Civics that's low to the ground and tight on, tight suspension. And this is the way these come in the factory. They just hang on the corner, driving around rails. It's fun, definitely. You have to have good tires, though. The problem with them was they were cheap, and people didn't want to maintain them, and they just rusted out very quickly. They're prone to rust, and they ended up just going downhill, and people just put them in the dump site because they weren't worth fixing. A cheap set of wheels. And we used to see them, but now it's just the enthusiasts that have them, the club members, and people who enjoy a nice, small car, lots of fun. And now you can buy all the parts, and they're reasonably priced. So it's a fun car to have for a hobby.
This Woody wagon, as they're known, has been Randy's hobby for more than a few years now. In fact, he got it before he got his license.
The history of it is bought because my father didn't want me to buy a motorcycle, and he saw this car, thought this is a cute little car to get, and it was in the paper for sale. I drove up with my father. We had a look at it and loved the car. It was in rough shape. It was okay, but needed a lot of work. And he was thinking, you're 15, you get a car, you work on it for a while, and then you've got a nice set of wheels. And the problem with that was I stripped it, took it out, did some body work on it, had it done, and I got ripped off on that. The company went under, and sort of stopped that project. And so I just left the parts in their basement, and 10 years later decided to put it back together. They wanted it out of the driveway and clean up the mess of the parts. So I got the body work done again. It didn't turn out too bad, but that was a long time ago. We put it together, and a bit at a time. It was sort of a project car. My family's into British cars, and my father has a Triumph and just purchased another one. And it's sort of a hobby, and keeps us busy in our spare time. This is a 1961 Austin Mini Countryman. It's modified. It's upgraded from the original 850. It's got a 1293 Austin America motor. It gives a little bit of power. The original 850 just isn't powerful enough, And they're pretty plain on the inside, so I've upgraded the interior to a lot of wood to match the original wood exterior. The wood is a red ash, and it was difficult to get, but I had to replace a couple of pieces in the bottom, and quite a few years ago. It is original, just been refinished. It's quite nice actually having it. It brings out the color, it looks good, very different.
Randy customized the interior of his Mini to complement the exterior accents. In fact, some of the wood he used came from some unusual places.
The original didn't have any wood on the interior. It was pretty plain, just a small speedometer right in the center. It didn't have any gauges beside it. This is a newer model Mini console, customized for this car. It was a lot of work, but a lot of fun. I put some hardwood panels in the doors. I did the console. Put the side panels of that console are actually paneling from my parents' house in the basement, turned around backwards and refinished. So it's kind of unique. I did it all myself and took a lot of time, but it was fun.
Another reason these cars are better suited to the shows and competitions is the fact that they can be a little temperamental.
I don't bring it out in damp weather. I mean, the windshield wipers are almost useless. It sputters, doesn't run properly. Temperamental as far as tuning. This one I put together myself and had somebody set it up for me, and then learned as I went, adjusting carburetors and changing parts as they went. It was a good experience, because then if you're stuck on the side of the road, what has to be done.
The Mini is certainly not famous for its engine performance. It's the unique style and the look of the vehicle that evokes the same reaction wherever they go. They make people smile, and that alone is priceless.
definitely an attention getter. Like I said, the $100,000 Porsche next to you and this car parked together, and you know, people are looking at it. And you get the laughs though. That's the fun thing about it. You know, they drive by and the whole family is laughing in the car, and you know they're talking about it and you know, telling the family jokes. You know, I used to drive one and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's lots of fun.
I kind of regard this car as an all-weather go-kart. The steering is light, incredibly positive. The brakes are not too bad for this type of a car. The handling is very good. It corners, it stops. It's just total fun to drive. It's probably an impractical day-to-day car, but to strap it on and have some fun, I love it.
Despite the fact that it is a little impractical to drive on a daily basis, the Mini seems to hold a special allure for its owners. Bob Kent was happy to show us his vehicle, and he pointed out some of the differences between his wagon and the one Randy just showed us.
This car was subject to a few more safety standards than Randy's was because it was slightly later. So on the roof there's corrugations which eliminated some of the noise, which was a good thing, but also made it much stronger in the event of a rollover. The brakes had been changed from a single drum to a double drum in the front for extra safety in stopping. The doors are reinforced. There's a bar running through here to make them a little more safe than Randy's car. And the engine is designed to break away in the event of a collision, which Randy's doesn't. There's a breakable bolt in there, which went into the Countryman but did not make it into the sedans. I'm not sure why, but they're very difficult to find. We actually waited about 6 months construction to find those bolts. This is a 1967 Austin Mini Clubman Mark II. It was built on December 14th, 1967 and shipped to Canada on December 18th, 1967. It actually went to Vancouver. We don't know too much about its life, except that it spent several years on the West Coast. And when we found it was in North Vancouver, where it had been more or less derelict for a couple of years. Everything from the windshield forward is new, the floors are new, the sill is new, the interior is new, the engine is new. We did a lot of work on it.
The interior of the Mini traditionally is rather sparse, so Bob decided to customize his for both looks and safety.
The interior has been pretty much replaced completely. The original interior was not fit for anything. We started from a safety standpoint. We put a roll bar in the car. Based on a previous incident, I'd rather have one if I get upside down again. The seats are Corbeau seats, which we brought in from England. That was a major hassle. Took nearly 8 months to get them here, and they're still the wrong color. We went to 4-point seat belts, again for safety. These cars were made for a different time and a different place, and the modern highway just isn't a place for standard seat belts in a Mini. We built a wood dash for the front, just to fill what's basically a hole on the basic car. We extended the toggle switches. We found when we put the 4-point belts on, we could no longer reach the switches, so we now have some major switches in it. Added a tachometer. We've got it wired up for a radio. We don't have a radio in there yet. It's a pretty noisy car with the exhaust we put on it, and we really can't see a point to putting the radio in. The motor is a 1300cc engine replacing the original 998. It was originally mounted in a car called an Austin America, which is essentially a big Austin Mini, which was brought over and tried to break into a larger sedan. The car failed, but in failing it left an awful lot of good engines around for Mini users to put in these days. It's on the original Mini transmission, although we tore the transmission apart and added synchromesh on the first gear. The original color of the car was Island Blue, which is a very popular Mini color. We wanted to stay true to the spirit of it, but it was kind of dull, we thought. So we took this paint from a Dodge Viper. It's 1998 Dodge Viper Blue. It has a very high metallic content, and when the sun's on it, it's a pretty shiny paint.
An unorthodox color for an unorthodox machine.